Okay, now I know where I am. Hello again everybody, welcome back for part 7 of the trip to Cornwall. We're still on day 1, now it's getting dark. We're just at the junction with the A9 at Dunkeld, and we're going to cross over and take the back road to Crieff. Moisture on the inside of my visor now. I've given up on the DJI camera now until tomorrow when the daylight comes back. So for now we're going to stick with the helmet camera. To improve the footage on the helmet camera, I've used some software stabilisation, which works pretty well. There is some distortion in the clouds you'll notice as we're riding along. But the road itself in front of us is fairly stable and certainly much easier to watch than it would be if there was no stabilisation at all. So I'll show some comparison video as we're riding along a bit further along the road and have a little chat about the software. You may have noticed that I haven't uploaded this video in 4K. That's because the helmet camera only records in 1080p. So there's absolutely no point in uploading a 4K video file. Bumps. Okay, let's have a look at this software stabilisation. Just as we go around this bend, after this car passes, you'll see on the left hand side of the screen now we've got the unstabilised footage, and on the right hand side we've got the stabilised footage. And straight away you can see there's a big difference between the two. On the unstabilised footage it's wobbling around all over the place as my head's bouncing around because of the uneven surface of the road, whereas on the right hand side the road is staying fairly stable. You can see a little bit of disturbance in the clouds in the sky above. That's partly due to the original recordings. The clouds are wobbling around a bit even in the unstabilised footage, although it's difficult to see it because it's bouncing around so much. It's exaggerated on the stabilised footage, but I think personally I prefer to see the road fairly stable in front of me and let the clouds wobble around a bit, because trying to watch that unstabilised footage on the left hand side, I find it quite comfortable. Now we're back to having both sides stabilised, and for me that's much more comfortable to watch. So the software I'm using is by a company called Prodad, and it's called Mercalli. It's version 6 I'm using. And there are two types of this software you can get. You can get a standalone version and you can get a plug-in version. Personally, I prefer the standalone version. The disadvantage of the plug-in version is that it uses quite a lot of processing power while you're editing the videos, which can slow things down if your PC is not quite up to it, and it's quite cumbersome to use. The standalone version, you stabilise the video files before you put them into your editing software, which I think is a much better way to do it. I'd just like to point out, I'm not being paid by Prodad to say all this. I'm just telling you about the software that I use to stabilise footage from my cameras. It's not cheap, and if you can afford to buy a decent camera with built-in stabilisation these days, then that's probably better. But at the moment, when I was doing this trip, I wasn't able to lay out on a new camera just for the trip. So I had to use what I had available, and unfortunately, because the DJI, as we've seen, doesn't handle low light very well, I've had to resort to using the software. Of course, where this software is most useful is if you've got lots of old footage that is recorded on cameras that didn't have stabilisation and you want to rescue it, and I've got lots of that. Anyway, that's enough about that. Let's get on with the ride. Well, it's a pity it's dark, but that's my own fault. I wanted to get off at 7:30. I ended up getting off at midday, 4.5 hours. I could have been coming through here about 2 o'clock, 1 or 2 o'clock. Oh well. Yeah, that's the LED bulb looks reasonably okay. That's main beam on the LED bulb plus the spotlights. I've got a switch to turn the spotlights off, but it's down under, just under the head, behind the headlights. I can't reach it just now. just coming up to a junction here that I know very well. I've passed it many times, but I've always come from the road on the right hand side. So I'm just going to include some footage here from a trip I did to the Isle of Wight back in April 2018. I was on the GSA, just so that you can get a look at the junction and have a look at the surrounding area with a bit of daylight. Right, now I know where I am again. I'm coming to a lot of junctions that I've seen in the past, but never been on the particular road that I'm joining from. Does that make any sense? We're just passing through Amelree here, and not far along the road on the right there's a turn off for Glenquake. And if you want to see what Glenquake looks like, you should check out The Adventures of Bleary View. He's got a great video of a ride he did through Glenquake, and I'll put a link in the description below. Alex also has many other videos on his channel of rides around Scotland, Shetland, the Orkneys. Well worth checking him out. Another channel you should check out if you want to see these roads in daylight and better weather is Tiger Ness. He's got some great videos of rides around these roads, and in fact the very first video on his channel is a ride he did from where he lives up to Crieff and then along the side of Loch Earn and around Loch Tay and back down again. And again, I've put a link in the description below. maybe the spots could do with being up just a little bit. There's a move-on signal down here. I'll have a look. Just going to lean over too far, isn't it? I'll check my straps. It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, straps are okay. I should really have used them, shouldn't I? Oh, well, never mind. First things first, plug in my doodah. In fact, I would say that's very good. That bulb, the dip beam on it is excellent. Oh, now I've got a drippy nose. Oh, jeez, the joys. Okay, since it's properly dark now, I think we'll have a little chat about the lights. The first thing I'll do is show you how I've mounted the spotlights on the bike. And first photograph shows you a view from the front, the spotlights on the bracket. The second photograph shows you how the bracket is mounted onto the bike. As you can see, I've replaced the lower fork yoke pinch bolts with longer pieces of M8 studding and added in a 25mm studding connector to act as a spacer between the bracket and the forks, so that there's clearance for the little Royal Enfield emblem at the front there. The third photograph just shows you a side-on view of the studding as it goes through the lower fork yoke. And the last photograph shows you the switch for the spotlights mounted behind the top of the forks there, just above there's a bit of wiring, and then just above it you can see a little red dot. That's the switch to turn the spotlights on and off. The spotlights operate with the main beam. There's a relay connected to the main beam, power feed to the bulb, and when main beam is turned on, that relay turns the spotlights on. And the switch here just allows you to turn the spotlights off so that they don't come on when your main beam is on. As you can see, the spotlights in conjunction with the LED bulb providing a really good light. You can easily see the road in front of you. You can see any potholes that might be in front of you. You can see any wildlife that might be encroaching on the road ahead of you. And I wouldn't be without them. Riding around in the countryside, particularly where there's forested areas or moorland, you really need good lights so that you can spot wildlife. If you hit a deer on these roads, the chances of you getting away with it are quite slim. I need to do a bit more experimenting with the positioning of the lights. I think they could maybe do with being spread out a little bit further apart and raised up very slightly. I did adjust the lights later in the trip, but I can't remember what day it was. But when we get to that point, I'll mention it again. These lights are very bright, so you have to be careful not to blind oncoming traffic. The last thing you want is being able to see where you're going, but everybody else can't. So you really do have to be very careful about making sure you dip the lights. Okay, I think that's enough about the lights now. It's pretty obvious how effective they are. So we'll carry on to Crieff. It's that time of night, isn't it? Right, that's us just coming into Crieff now. So we've reached the end of part 7. In part 8, we meet up with the A9 again and have to ride along part of it. Not for long though. And then we meet rush hour in Bridge of Allen. From there we're heading down towards Grangemouth and then heading south. How far we'll get in part 8 I don't know yet, but we'll certainly get as far as Bridge of Allen. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing if you have done. Thanks for your comments and your likes. And if you're watching this around Christmas time, which is when it was published, have a Merry Christmas. And I'll speak to you on the next one. Bye for now. Well, welcome to Crieff.